The 7 weirdest places on Earth. Number 1. The walled city of Kowloon is the top of the leaderboard when it comes to the most densely populated place on the planet. Located in Hong Kong, it was demolished in 1994. There had been between 33 and 50,000 people living in Kowloon City prior to its demolition. All of those people lived together in just 6.5 acres. It was first used in the middle of the 17th century as a Chinese military fort and went into the hands of Britain at the end of the 19th century. Refugees infiltrated the city after the end of World War II when China made known their intention to reclaim it. More than 2,000 people were squatting there by 1947. British troops tried to kick the refugees out but couldn't get them to leave, so decided to turn a blind eye to the city. China and Britain agreed on the hands-off approach to Kowloon City in the 1950s. It came almost entirely under the rule of the Triads, a syndicate of organized crime. It was known for high crime rates and drug problems. The crime issues weren't sorted out until the early 1980s. A lot of building went on during the 1960s and 1970s, and people who lived in Kowloon were allowed to build whatever houses they wanted without any safety restrictions. The overcrowding was phenomenal, and it brought about obvious squalor. But people made their homes there, and small businesses set up inside the buildings did very well. Although the crime rates had fallen, it was decided by Chinese and British officials that the city needed to be demolished due to the terrible living conditions caused by extreme cramping. Despite massive protests, evacuation began in 1991, and the city was cleared in 1992. It cost the government 2.7 billion Hong Kong dollars in compensation. New building was commenced just a month after the demolition and was finished just 3 years later. Next up, we have a slum city which is literally filled with rubbish. Cairo has never had a rubbish collection system, and the people living in Manshiyat Nasser decided to take it upon themselves, collecting the city's rubbish for 70 years. 60,000 people live in Manshiyat amongst the trash, which covers every single inch of the city. The people are labeled the Zabalin, which translates as garbage people. They go around Cairo collecting rubbish from outside people's homes and take it back to the slum on pickup trucks and donkey carts. Once they have the trash, they sort it, boasting a 90% recycling success rate, 4 times better than any Western recycling company. These unofficial rubbish collectors were usurped in 2003 when the Cairo government decided to bring in private trash disposal companies. When the swine flu epidemic broke out in 2009, the government ordered for 350,000 of Manshiyat's pigs to be culled to help prevent the spread of the disease. This was devastating to the people of the city, as it was the pigs that cleared the rubbish of the organic waste. Next up is a town in Japan where everyone wears gas masks. It started to be common practice after Mount Oyama erupted in 2000. The nearly 3,000 people who make their home on Miyakijima Island don't have to wear their masks all the time, but they must always have it with them. Sirens sound when the noxious gas levels in the air go up. In 1940, lava from Mount Oyama caused the death of 11 people, and the volcano erupted again in 1962, and then again in 1983. The most fatal eruption was in the year 2000, after the volcano had laid dormant for 17 years. Each day of the eruption, between 10 and 20,000 tons of sulfuric dioxide was released daily, and the island had to be evacuated. In 2005, the people were allowed to return, but still a third of the island is not allowed to be accessed. Some areas are out of bounds for people of specific ages, and health checks are undertaken by the government on the people that live there. Surprisingly, tourism in the area has grown, primarily due to the different way of life the islanders have. There is much to do for the outdoorsy types, and visitors are able to hike, swim, and dive on the island. Disposable gas masks are available in the local shops and at the ferry stations. Next up, we have the lost city of Atlantis. You may question whether we can include something that may not even exist on this list, but go with us on this one. Lots of people are adamant that a utopia did exist, and it is this utopia they believe sunk to become the lost city. People have suggested places the world over where the city may be hiding. When Google Earth had a data glitch that made it look like there was a grid on the bottom of the ocean, people thought that perhaps they'd found the lost city, and that the grid lines depicted were actually the streets. Next up is the Nazca Lines. Unlike Atlantis, which remains a myth, the Nazca Lines, although a mystery, are in fact real. They are located on the coast of Peru. The massive geoglyphs show monkeys, plants, and spiders, amongst other things. They are thought to have been around since 500 BC, and the most effective way of viewing them are from above, but you can see them on the ground too. It is still not known what prompted the geoglyphs to have been made. It is thought that they could have played a part in some ancient ritual, or that they have links to the constellations. Now we have the Teotihuacan. This pyramid-filled city has been left to go into ruin for nearly 1,500 years, and it is still not known who built it or who may have lived there. Its name today was given by the Aztecs, and translates as the space where the gods were created. It was a 20 square kilometer urban area, and probably housed around 100,000 people who would have lived in buildings resembling apartments. Teotihuacan is most renowned for the complexes of pyramids and the enormous Avenue of the Dead. And finally, we come to Cano Cristales in Serrania de la Macarena. Cano Cristales is amongst perhaps the most remarkable of the world's rivers due to its color. For most of the year, there's not much remarkable about it, but in between the wet and dry season, it becomes bright red due to the blossoms that burst along it. The plants are grown out of a river, which is filled with bright blue water with vivid green moss and yellow sand alongside. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos.